And station, this is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
We're ready.
Frostburg State University, this is Mission Control Houston. Please call station for a voice check.
Welcome. Greeting from Frostburg State University on the day of our 120th anniversary. We're excited to speak to you today, which has been designated as Ricky Arnold Day in Frostburg, Maryland. And by the way, it's snowing. And we do see the Frostburg pennant. Thank you. Ricky, I understand that 30 years ago, at this time, you were a student intern teaching secondary school biology. We were digging through the records and we found a letter of recommendation with an interesting note. It says, it turns out that you were such a good teacher that students had already taken biology from you, were skipping out of study hall to come back and listen to more of your lectures. With that, we're going to move on to the questions, and thanks for being with us.
Great to be here with Frostburg and Bowie State and the University of Maryland. I hear you loud and clear.
Hello, my name is Alexis, and this question is for Ricky. What experiences from your time as a student at FSU prepared you for what you do today?
Alexis, great to be with you today. Frostburg, it was a relatively small school. I really got to know my professors really well when I was there. In fact, I still see some of them when I'm back in town. I just think the investment that the teaching community there was able to make in me as an individual has really paid off and put me on the path to do the things that I've been really fortunate to do in life.
Hello, my name is Lauren, and this question is for Drew. How has being in space changed your daily exercise routine?
That's a great question. I can't say that I actually had a daily exercise routine back on Earth, but I definitely have one now. So we work out now about 3 hours a day, roughly 45 minutes on a treadmill, and over an hour or so on the a couple hours on the what we call the resistive exercise device. So that means I'm exercising every day, 7 days a week, and I definitely did not do that on Earth.
Hello, my name is Canyon, and this question from the University of Maryland, College Park, is for Ricky. What role do you believe space exploration has in inspiring future generations towards careers in STEM fields, and how can we, as educators, encourage young learners in this regard?
Go Terps. Great to be with you. Yeah, this is the final frontier. And as we head out into the solar system as a species, it's the technology that we develop that's going to make it possible. I can't think of anything more motivating I know for me as a young student and as a kid, watching people exploring space it just had a really profound impact on me, because you wonder, what's it like there? It's just so different and so new. And I think just bringing it into the classroom, whatever examples you can use from the great resources NASA provides, our partners, international partners provide to use directly in the classroom, and just find ways to directly connect kids to the mission. Every principle of science is required to make all this magic happen in low Earth orbit and to go out into the solar system. So as a teacher, find ways to incorporate it in the lessons you're developing and the lessons you're delivering to kids.
Hello, my name is Jake, and this question is for Drew. What do you eat in space, and how is the food divided up?
That's a good question, Jake. We've got some examples of some of the food we eat. We basically have 3 types. Yeah. This type, which is what we call thermally stabilized, which is sort of like a military ration that we don't have to refrigerate to keep fresh. We also have rehydratable food, which is this type in a vacuum pack where we have to add water, either hot or cold. And then the final item we have is what we call off-the-shelf items like candy, chocolate-coated candies and things like that, that we can just eat just like you do out of a package on Earth. And so that's the 3 types of food we have, and we're all of us are allocated about 3,000 kilocalories of food each day, and that lasts us the entire mission. And when we start to run out, we ask the Earth to send up more.
Hi, my name is Zach, and this question is from Bowie State University, and is for Ricky. Is water released during a Soyuz launch like it was during a shuttle launch?
Hey, great to be talking to Bowie State University today. My wife is a graduate of the school and actually worked as an educator. It still works as an educator to this day. Yeah, we were actually talking about that today. The shuttle launches, it's a massive controlled explosion, and the reason we release water, we would release water during a shuttle launch is the sound would be so strong that would actually destroy the infrastructure that's holding the rocket in place. So we would dump a whole lot of water to dampen the effect of just the sound. The Soyuz is a much smaller rocket, and therefore it's not required. The water suppression system is not required. Also, Soyuz launches out in the middle of the desert. There is a nearby river, but so even if it was required, it would probably be a bit of a challenge to provide it in the quantities that we were able to provide in Florida.
Hello, my name is Amanda, and this question is for Drew. What is your specific role on the space station, and how do you work as a team?
That's a great question. My role is to stay out of trouble, and the way we work on it as a team is by each of us keeping the others out of trouble. But our jobs primarily are to be the hands, eyes, and ears of the researchers on the ground that have designed the experiments and the work here for us in space. So we keep the experiments running, make sure that the data gets returned to Earth, and we also keep the space station itself running, and that's really the job of all of us.
My name is Jensen, and my question is for Ricky. How do you rehydrate the food in space, and does it taste the same?
Yeah. If your question is, does the food all taste the same? The answer is pretty close to yes. I use a lot of Tabasco and seasoning to try to liven it up. We actually process all of the water that's produced here on station. We gather up all the humidity in the air. We actually process all the urine that goes into the toilet and make very, very pure drinking water. And we have a water dispenser. Each of these little packets that you see has a little nozzle on it, and we just put it in the dispenser, and it can dispense hot or cold water to rehydrate the food or to create drinking water. This is how we drink. This is out of just a bag of water.
Hello, my name is Sophia. My question is for Drew. What experience do you have with space debris, and what safeguards are in place to protect astronauts, the capsule, and the space station from collision with debris?
Well, knock on wood, fortunately, as of now, I don't have any experience with space debris because that's not something that we like to encounter. But the spacecraft, the space station, and nearly all spacecraft have some debris panels, debris protection systems on their outer skin. That's also true of our spacesuit. And for smaller objects, we're protected from those by the protective panels. But for larger items, we don't really have any protection other than response to an emergency for a rapid depressurization. So we train for that on a regular basis here, both on Earth and here on the space station, to respond to what we'd consider a rapid depressurization due to damage that might be caused by something like that, by space debris.
Hello, my name is Dr. Sally Stevenson, and my question is for Ricky. How did your overseas teaching experience prepare you for your role as an astronaut?
Yeah, I was fortunate to teach in 4 other countries besides the United States, and as you can see, we are actually in the Japanese segment of the International Space Station. We are watching our friend Nemo, Japanese astronaut, working over in the Columbus module, which is put together by the European Space Agency, which is several European nations that came together to participate. And I rode up on a rocket with a Russian commander. So, just respect for other cultures, other languages, other ideas. That opportunity to go and live and immerse yourself in another culture really suited me well, I think, for my training in Russia and for my time on board with my international colleagues.
Hello, my name is Eddie, and this question is for Drew. What made you want to become an astronaut?
I would say science fiction TV shows made me want to become an astronaut. I was always intrigued by the idea of traveling out in space and exploring the far reaches of the solar system and beyond. And I like to say that I grew up wanting to be George Jetson, but really right now we're just sort of like Fred Flintstone. We're really at the beginning of space exploration for human beings, and I think that in the near future, in the not too distant future, maybe within the next 50 or 100 years, we humans will be exploring farther out, farther and farther, and probably living more permanently with greater numbers out in space off of our own planet.
Hi, my name is Danielle, and my question is for Ricky. Why do you feel it is important to complete Krista McAuliffe's lessons?
Yeah, the loss of Challenger not only affected a generation of school teachers, but also a generation of school children who are now adults. And I happen to be one of those people who saw it on television. And you know, we here believe very strongly in a sense of mission and a sense of completion, and just having those lessons out there incomplete has just I wouldn't say it ate at me, but it kind of I guess bothered me a little bit that we didn't quite finish that mission. And so my hope is that we will have the time to get those lessons complete while I'm here, and I'll be here till October, and get those out to the nations in the world's classrooms, and I think really you know, bring the Challenger mission, at least that portion of it, full circle, and move on from there.
Hello, my name is Annie. My question is for Drew. What items did you take with you when you went into space, and are the limitations?
Each of us are allowed or afforded to take some personal items of our own. Ricky, for example, has a baseball here with him. I have a small stuffed animal by the name of Kurtek, who's a small mole. Ricky also has, we brought in the name of our spacecraft launching into space. Our call sign was Hawaii, so we brought some items that were sort of related to Hawaii. So the limitations are any items have to be small, low mass, and low volume. And as long as we can meet those requirements, we can take just about anything.
Plus, I can throw a fastball slightly over 17,000 miles an hour, just like that. So, had to bring a baseball.
Has anything from your experience as an educator provided you with strengths as an astronaut that you would not have otherwise?
Our mornings, just our morning today, I was working on like 3 or 4 different pieces of equipment. We had this event with you folks. Every day we have a schedule planned by someone. The schedule is always subject to change. We're talking to control centers all around the world, literally. And I think any teacher will tell you what is one of the biggest challenges, and it's juggling the needs of a bunch of different people, a bunch of learners in a classroom, and having to keep a lot of balls in the air at once. And I think that's something I learned to do very well as a teacher, and I think it's served me very well as when I became an astronaut.
Hello, my name is Chandler, and this question comes from Bowie State University, and it's for Drew. What did you do to prepare for this experience outside of your training?
Well, that's a tough question to answer. Yeah, I mean, we train for the mission specifically, but of course there's a lot of preparation related to departure from home. Ricky and I were just talking yesterday, the fact, or maybe it was this morning, the fact that we've already been away from home since late January. So we've been away already, and we'll be here till October. And just like anybody going on a military deployment or overseas assignments, sometimes you can be gone from home for a long time. So there's a lot of things that we do to prepare for leaving home, domestic affairs. But that's primarily it. The rest of the training that we need to be here is what we get from the various control centers and training centers around the world.
Hello, my name is Bob. My question is for Ricky. What factors did you have to consider when teaching a lesson from space, and how will you prepare?
This right here, and this little jar full of candy. You have to have a plan all the time for things floating away. You saw us chasing the food that we were showing you. The lessons are developed. They are being finished up by the ground. They'll be sent up to me. I'll make some comments on them. But the big thing that I have to focus on is how do you keep track of stuff that just wants to obey Newton's laws and is relatively free of gravity? Like me. Like Drew at this point.
What do you and the crew do for entertainment on the space station?
Well, I think you can see what we do for entertainment. We kind of bounce around and float around, and occasionally we get out a guitar and play some music. I don't know why Ricky's handing it to me. You know, he's a musician as well, but he won't admit it. But we do a lot of things. We have a keyboard up here as well, and we generally just like to have fun and float around. And hold that.
If you're not careful, you might end up singing.
Yesterday I had my Elvis suit on.
Hello, my name is Heidi, and my question is for Ricky. Why did you make the switch from teaching to being an astronaut?
Hi, thanks for that question. I taught a fair bit of space science, and I used to try to incorporate as much of the space program as I could in my instruction. And I saw one day, and I always spent a lot of time encouraging my students to, hey, whatever you want to do in life, you owe it to yourself to try. And I'd been interested in this since I was a young kid. And when I saw that NASA had opened up its applications again, they usually come in cycles. This time it had been 4 years since the previous class. I said, well, I've been telling my students to try things that they've always wanted to do, and I owe it to myself to have that really nice framed rejection letter from NASA saying, hey, thanks very much for applying. But I did apply and ended up interviewing, and now here I am talking to you from the International Space Station. So, no dream is really too absurd. It's you let someone tell you can't do something, try your hardest to prove them wrong, and see what happens.
Hi, my name is Ashley, and my question is for Drew. What is the most challenging activity that you face in a microgravity environment?
Well, I tell you, eating's pretty tricky for us. We showed you the food that we eat, but once we open those packages, the food is what we consider to be liberated, and it can just float anywhere. And sometimes you find yourself, as the food departs from the package you're eating, using your spoon or your mouth to chase around the food inside the cabin and make sure you get it all in your mouth instead of stuck against the wall or somebody's face.
Hello, my name is Samantha. My question is for Ricky. How has technology changed over your 2 missions, and how do you anticipate it changing in the future?
Technology has changed immensely since I flew in 2009. The space shuttle flew for over 30 years, so the technology on the space shuttle we had some upgrades, but it was essentially 30, 40-year-old technology when we were flying on it. From the early 70s. So just think about how much computers have changed just in the past 5, 10 years. Take that 40 years and you have some kind of idea what kind of computer the space shuttle had. However, the technology we become accustomed to on Earth takes a while before we feel comfortable bringing it up to the International Space Station. So even our laptops, some of the hardware we use here is typically a little bit older than the stuff we get on Earth. That being said, when we have a problem to solve, like how to recycle, urine and perspiration and humidity into drinking water, we're really at the cutting edge of that kind of technology. And that technology that we developed to make this possible will directly impact communities that are struggling for drinking water around the world. So it's a kind of a double-edged sword.
Hello, my name is Carrie, and my question is for Drew. What are the most important qualities needed to be a good crewmate?
Great question. I was reminded yesterday morning that one of the best qualities to be a good crew member is not to be grumpy. And so after Ricky called me grumpy a few times, I realized that I probably needed to change my attitude. And I often say I don't have time for smiling and being nice, but it turns out being nice is one of the best attributes you can have, and smiling really goes a long way towards making everybody's day better.
Hello, my name is Jessica. My question is for Ricky. What advice do you have for future teachers like me?
Hey, Jessica. Well, I'm so glad you've chosen the teaching profession. It's an incredibly rewarding career. I actually had one of my former students send me an email while I was in space, and I was able to invite him and his brother and a friend of theirs to come to watch my launch at Houston Mission Control. The best advice I can give is for your first couple years, work really hard at it and understand just how challenging the job is. Long term, I think really make the investment in your most precious resource, your time, and developing personal relationships with your students, getting to know who they are and what they're about, what motivates them, what they're bringing to the classroom every day. They're not just showing up. They have stuff going on at home and stuff outside of the classroom, and just making that investment in time and energy is going to be immensely beneficial to your kids and rewarding to you as well.
Ricky and Drew, I understand we're out of time. I want to thank you so very much for being part of this morning for us and made a special day. Thanks, and Godspeed to you, and best wishes for the rest of your trip. Look forward to seeing you when you return.
I got to show you the crab on the back of my flight suit. Hey, it was great visiting with Frostburg, the University of Maryland, and Bowie State University. We're immensely proud to be a product of Maryland Public Schools and universities, and so glad you could join us here on the International Space Station. You guys have a great day, and hope to maybe do this again in the future sometime.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for your time.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the event.
Thank you to all the participants from Frostburg State University. Station, we are now resuming operational audio communications.